6 p.m. in Bamenda, chief town of the northwest region of Cameroon. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me on today's edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast. For presentation, I am Immaculate Fogwe. Sickle cell cases are on the rise in Cameroon. Health experts are urging young people to get their diagnosis done, especially before having a baby. On today's edition of the news, we'll explain to you the challenges faced by people suffering with the disease. And tonight, we'll equally take you to the Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road, which is in a deplorable state. Due to the heavy rains, vehicles got stuck on that road as a result of the mud, causing circulation to be perturbed. And now to sports. Coq Sportive wins a court case against Fecafoot. The Cameroon Football Federation, Fecafoot, will have to pay the sum of 6,065 million francs as fine to Coq Sportive for abusive breach of contract. The judge of the Paris Tribunal has ordered that the contractual relationship between both parties be maintained. Those are major stories. Stay with us for details and more. Thank you so much for choosing Equinoxe television. You definitely made the right choice. Today is being observed worldwide as Sickle Cell Anemia Day. Statistics from the World Health Organization indicates that over 3,000 children are born with sickle cell disease anemia worldwide. Medics say the kids usually suffer from several complications all through their existence and may sometimes die if not strictly followed up. Annabella, in the following report, tells us more about the sickle cell anemia disease, especially in children.
Every year, in Cameroon, an estimated 6,000 children are born SS, that is, with a deficiency in their red blood cells. Medical doctors explain that to be born with a sickle cell, a child has to inherit a copy of the sickle cell gene from both parents. This only happens when the two parents are carriers of the sickle cell gene. Children who suffer from sickle cell disease are prone to several health complications caused by deficient hemoglobin.
Ils ont trois problèmes au quotidien, c'est les infections.
Usually, children have three major problems.
Les douleurs, ils ont très souvent des douleurs qui peuvent être dans
daily serious infections, severe pains everywhere in the body. They also have the risk of severe anemia because their red blood cells are rapidly destroyed en masse.
Ils courent le risque d'anémie sévère parce que les globules rouges se détruisent en masse et
if the both parents have the S trait, it is evident the baby will be born being SS. Unfortunately, adults are ignorant of their status, hence the child suffers.
Parfois, c'est au décours même du dépistage chez l'enfant qu'on arrive à dépister que le père était porteur, que la mère était porteuse.
Pediatricians say if follow-up is done properly, an SS child's health situation can be controlled. They advise parents to give SS kids plenty of water on a daily basis. This can help prevent pain crises. Folic acid should also be administered, and regular eye tests must be done, not forgetting blood transfusions, vaccines, and antibiotics.
S'ils sont bien suivis, ils mènent très souvent une très bonne vie.
As medicine evolves across the world, it is possible nowadays for a pregnant woman to know through an electrophoresis test if her fetus is SS or not.
Oui, désormais, il y a cette facilité, cette possibilité de faire des diagnostics anténatales.
The theme for this World Sickle Cell Disease Day is building and strengthening global sickle cell communities, formalizing newborn screening, and knowing your sickle cell disease status.
And you heard in that report that people suffering with the sickle cell disease are supposed to be strictly and constantly followed up in hospital. This entails spending a lot of money and equally allocating enough time for these patients. Our reporter Annabella spoke with some mothers at the Douala Lakantini Hospital and explained to us the hurdles they go on through on a daily basis while taking care of their children suffering with sickle cell anemia. Take a listen.
Care of an SS child can be very challenging to a parent. Besides being financially costful, it is also physically draining. Parents who have SS children and need to give them care on a daily basis say only the love for one's child can keep him or her going. Ajara Tijino is among the parents present at the Lakantini Hospital with their sick children for follow-up.
My child is a sickle cell patient, so it's not really easy. It's not really easy because last Monday I was here with him. Yes, I was here with him. He's having some pains all over the body.
Most people who suffer from sickle cell anemia must be consulted at least once in 3 months, but parents find themselves in hospital every week because of very frequent crises.
Normally, I used to come with him after 3 months. After 3 months, but if he's sick, I'm forced to bring him. So when they give appointment that it is 3 months, it doesn't mean that I should, if it is sick, I should wait and say that it's after 3 months, I will go. I can be here with him today and go back and he's sick. I'm forced to come back with him.
Whether he's sick or not, whether it's a crisis or not, we have to bring him so that they consult him. He cries, children come around him, they cry with him, they try to help him as they can.
Dr. Equinoxe Charlotte, a pediatrician and sickle cell expert, says it is imperative for adults to know their electrophoresis status before procreation.
That's why we are trying to test people from 15 years, because it's at that time that you should start talking to them for you to really understand the importance of knowing is hemoglobin electrophoresis. So if you are AS, don't go with somebody who is AS also. If you are AS, you should find somebody who is AA for you to reduce to reduce the risk to have a sickle cell baby. If all of us, if each person in Cameroon does it, then we will reduce the incidence of the disease, and then maybe in some years, finish about sickle cell disease.
Living with sickle cell disease has never been an easy task to both the patient and the caregivers. Raising on the World Day against sickle cell anemia, people are called upon to join the fight to eradicate sickle cell. If corporals are conscious and responsible enough to know their hemoglobin status, it will go a long way at bringing to an end the enormous suffering patients and parents go through with sickle cell patients at home.
And away from health, transportation fare to neighboring villages in the town of Kumba, that is in the Memet division of the southwest region, has drastically increased from 1,000 francs to 1,300 francs. Drivers blame it on the scarcity and increase in the price of fuel in that part of the country. Drivers are equally threatening to park their vehicles in the days ahead if nothing is done. Details with Malaglory.
Transporters in Kumba, Memet division and its environs make use of illicit fuel. The business of contraband fuel in Kumba, known as fonge, is imported from Nigeria and has gained ground in Memet division in the past years. The disgruntled drivers complain the price of fonge, which used to sell at 475 francs, now cost 850 francs. They say the price is exorbitant. It's too expensive compared to how we buy it at the petrol station. We buy the contraband fuel at 850 francs. That is about 8,500 francs for 10 liters of fuel, while at the station it's about 741 francs per liter.
Now presently, we really don't have a petrol station, we still have to get more fuel.
As a result of fuel scarcity and price increase, the transporters have also increased the cost of transportation from Kumba to neighboring villages. Distance which used to cost 1,000 francs now costs 1,300 francs and even more. Some drivers have even decided to park their vehicles due to lack of passengers.
Just two passengers in my car, one is going to Banga and the other one is going to Obalangi. Then you see, Banga is, we're taking 1,000 francs, then now it's 1,300. The reason for that 300 increment is because of the increment in fuel has caused us to increase the price of transport just a bit so that we could meet up with the demand.
An increase which has slowed down economic activities as major streets have remained empty. Transporters are now threatening to boycott work in the days ahead if nothing is done.
And all away from that, the non-respect of rights to images in Cameroon is gradually becoming a societal ill. Many post images of platforms without the consent of the victim. Some go as far as intruding the personal lives of individuals by posting their images in uncalled circumstances, acts which legal minds say are punishable by the Cameroonian law. Our reporter A.C. Lucy Liengu spoke to a lawyer on the rights to images and compiled the following report.
The right to an image is a right of a personality which allows any person, famous or anonymous, to oppose the use of his or her image or any other identifiable features, including his voice, without his authorization. On most of our media platforms, we find people posting images of accidents, suicide, rape, street children, people who have died, amongst others, without even considering viewers' discretion. A legal mind, Barrister Remind, says such acts are against the laws of the country.
Unpleasant stories attached to images and even videos for some persons or personalities, without their consent. Some people see pictures and they are asking themselves, am I really the person they are talking about or someone else? Those are actions that can be punishable under the criminal law and even the civil law.
Recently, many people reacted on social media on the disrespect shown to the corpse of Cameroon Nanjib after he died due to a road accident. Phones today are being used by people to dramatize situations.
Those who claim that the two pictures from the internet or the pictures were not gotten by them personally are not free. They are not free because the hammer of Section 75 of Law number 2010/2012 of 21st December 2010 on cyber security and cyber criminality will still fall on them. Why will it fall on them? It will fall on them because the aspect of consent has not been satisfied.
The legal mind warns against such acts as they are punishable by the Cameroonian law.
We can use Section 305 of the Penal Code to file a lawsuit against perpetrators of such rights. You can file a civil claim or a criminal claim depending on how hurt the victim feels. You can file a criminal suit under defamation, that's Section 305 under defamation, and Section 305 punishes perpetrators as from 6 months to 6 years imprisonment term as from 6 months to 6 years, and a fine as from 5,000 to 5 million, depending on the circumstances.
Ownership of the right to one's image should be respected as the law demands.
And now to one of our major lead stories. Passengers using the Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road continue to decry the poor state of the road, making their journey a veritable nightmare. Over the weekend, many passengers got blocked in Santa because of the heavy rains, which caused the roads to be practically inaccessible. Smaji Gabriel presents to us the ordeals faced by passengers along the Babaju-Bamenda stretch of road in Santa.
Along the Babaju-Bamenda highway, precisely at Government Bilingual High School Santa, vehicles coming into Bamenda from Boya, Douala and Yaoundé remain blocked.
I'm sure you are seeing it all for yourself because it's something that we cannot really explain. You cannot imagine that you leave Douala and you are entering here. We have been here for more than 1 hour, 30 minutes, and you are seeing the various vehicles. There are passengers now that they have poured some gravel before we are able to pass. So we are just putting that the government should see something else to do in such a way that we will be able to travel. This is a national road, but a national road that is not out sometimes is not that pleasing. They have to start that road, they have to do it, make it possible so that you can be able to travel. So that's what I can say.
The area in Santa has been a veritable nightmare for road users since the start of construction works on this stretch of road into Bamenda.
But if they on top, you know, if you ever go down on top.
Over the weekend, after heavy rains, 2 lorries blocked the road, making it difficult for other road users. At one point, the passengers will try to push out a 70-seater bus stuck in mud. Passengers who arrived as early as 4 a.m. had to wait for several hours before the arrival of a bulldozer which came to scrape off the mud to enable cars to start using the road. The passengers say this road shouldn't be used for elections campaign again because it has overdue.
I'm encouraging also the politicians and all the rest to not only come and do politics and allow people. When we do politics, politics is action. We should not do politics and allow people. Election is coming 2025, and I'm sure when we are doing this politics, we should not only be giving vain words. We should give words that will bear fruit. We should not only be talking about things and then you go and stay in the parliament, you stay in the council, that you cannot make good decisions. I'm sure we should be able to do and make good decisions that can bring us development.
Launched in 2017 by the Minister of Public Works, Emmanuel Nganu Njumesi, the road linking Babaju in the west to Bamenda in the northwest region remains a challenge to the road users, even though some construction works have been ongoing.
And many are still wondering for how long they will continue to suffer on such deplorable state of roads. They are wondering what's keeping the government from taking action soonest. And now we take you out of Cameroon. The special representative of the United Nations, Secretary General and head of the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in Mali, MINUSMA, says amid endless violence, the stabilization mission in Mali is essential for the Sahel region's stability, but Mali wants MINUSMA out of the territory. In this report, Babla Jonathan tells us why the transitional government of Mali does not want MINUSMA in the country anymore.
Mali's interim military authorities asked the United Nations peacekeeping force to leave the country without delay, citing a crisis of confidence between Malian authorities and the decade-long United Nations mission known as MINUSMA. Mali's Foreign Minister Abdoulaye Diop told a 15-member Security Council of the United Nations that the MINUSMA seems to have become a part of the problem in fueling inter-community tensions. He added that this situation is breeding mistrust among the Malian population and also causing a crisis of confidence between Malian authorities and MINUSMA. The withdrawal of MINUSMA marks a major turning point for the West African country, which has been struggling to stem an Islamist insurgency that took root following an uprising in 2012. MINUSMA was deployed by the United Nations Security Council in 2013 to support foreign and local efforts to restore stability. Frustrations over the growing insecurity spurred 2 coups in 2020 and 2021, and the ruling junta has been increasingly at loggerheads with MINUSMA and other international allies, including France. The priority tasks of the mission, as mandated by the Security Council, are to help stabilize Mali by supporting a political transition, protect civilians under threat of physical violence, promote and protect human rights, and create a secured environment for humanitarian aid delivery. Violence has continued since 2015 with attacks by groups linked to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State spreading to Mali's neighbors in the Sahel region. According to the United Nations, thousands have been killed and over 6 million people displaced. The United Nations Security Council is expected to adopt a resolution on the issue by June 30, 2023. The government of neighboring Burkina Faso has congratulated Mali for taking that decision. Meantime, Mali started counting votes on Sunday from a constitutional referendum. The ruling military junta and regional powers have said it will pave the way to elections and a return to civilian rule.
And now to our sports page. Stade Banjul remains the only non-elite club left in Cameroon Cup of Race. The boys from Banjul shocked the League 2 side with an early exit, while Cameroon Football Federation has been condemned to pay the sum of 6,065 million francs CFA to Lecoq Sportif for an abusive breach of contract. Details on this event compiled by Smart Chikangebo.
Stade Banjul of the West Region has continued to dine with its seniors on the same table as the regional club, made it to the semi-final of the Cameroon Cup this weekend. Stade Banjul defeated Stade Betua 4-3 after post-match penalty shootout in a game which ended goalless on regular time. The 2021 Cup winners, PWD of Bamenda, are in quest for a second trophy as they struggle to the semi-final of the Cup of Cameroon, beating Dynamo of Douala 6-5 on post-match penalty shootout. Colombe of Janelobo alongside Fufu Club of Baham are the other two clubs in the final four of the Cameroon Cup. While Colombe eliminated Eding FC of Lekie 2-1, Fufu had a smooth ride over Victoria United by 2-0. Over the weekend, the appeals court in Paris, France, ruled that Fecafoot arbitrarily terminated its contract with Coq Sportif. For that reason, the appeals court of Paris has ordered Fecafoot to pay the sum of 6.65 billion francs CFA to Coq Sportif, and Fecafoot must see that they continue with their contract with Le Coq Sportif until 2026. In the African continent, 6 new national teams sealed their qualification for the 2023 Africa Cup of Nations over the weekend. After staying in the cold for 8 years, the Copper Bullets have bounced back and sealed their 18th participation at the AFCON, thrashing Ivory Coast in a dramatic manner 3-0 in one of the surprising results recorded over the weekend. Cape Verde, Equatorial Guinea also picked up their qualification tickets this weekend. The Super Eagles of Nigeria will be present for their 20th AFCON appearance. Guinea-Bissau and Mali will be in Ivory Coast come January 2024. We end our weekend sports review with basketball, where FAP of Yaoundé won their back-to-back 4th title as the best basketball team in Cameroon. FAP won their last 2 games at the Final Four that took place over the weekend.
That's it for the first part of the news. Talking Point is up next. Today, Cameroon joins the world to commemorate World Sickle Cell Day. Sickle cell patients go through a lot of pain on a daily basis. The manifestations are almost the same, and they do not just go through a lot of pain. Those taking care of them have to spend a lot of money in the hospital taking them, and equally they need to give them a lot of their time just to take care. Today on Talking Point, we will look at the sickle cell disease, its manifestation, and how we can better take care of patients who are experiencing a crisis. And I will have as guest Dr. Charlotte Epose Ella. She is a pediatrician and sickle cell expert at the Douala Lakentini Hospital. Good evening, doctor. It is a pleasure having you on Talking Point. So, doctor, what is the sickle cell disease all about?
Yes, sickle cell disease is a genetic disease. Genetic disease which concerns hemoglobin, is a protein found in the red blood cells, and then the role of that protein is just to carry oxygen. So when you breathe, you take in oxygen, and that protein is supposed to go and deliver the oxygen to all the cells, all the organs in our body. So in that genetic disease, there is a problem. There is a production of an abnormal hemoglobin, and that abnormal hemoglobin will be the source of many complications, and especially pain crisis, anemia, and severe infections. Is what we can say about sickle cell disease.
Doctor, is there a difference between sickle cell disease and a sickle cell trait?
To diagnose the disease, you have to do what we call hemoglobin electrophoresis. Hemoglobin electrophoresis is a test that which will permit us to say if you are a carrier, if you have a normal hemoglobin. The normal hemoglobin is named hemoglobin A, and the sickle hemoglobin is named hemoglobin S. So when we do the hemoglobin electrophoresis, you can be normal, so that means they will tell you you are AA. You can be a sickler, that means you are SS, or you can be a carrier, or you can have a sickle cell trait, you will be then AS.
So explain to us, you talked about the diagnosis there. Now, explain to us, is there a difference between a sickle cell carrier and someone who is suffering from a sickle cell disease? What's the difference between both people?
Oh, it's a really, really difficult question to answer. We don't really have the real numbers of patients living with sickle cell disease in Cameroon. We have not yet conducted an epidemiological research about it. We have some results from some authors, but we are now conducting the newborn screening. It has been done in Douala and Yaoundé, and we can talk now about the result of the incidence. When you generalize it to the Cameroonian population, we can say that around 1% of babies are born with sickle cell disease. So when you calculate with natality rate of Cameroon, we can estimate that around 6,000 babies are born every year with sickle cell disease. That is enough. That is too much. In fact, let me say it like that, for a disease that can be prevented. Sickle cell patients have so many challenges. We all know that there is no medical insurance in Cameroon, so sickle cell patients have to pay for their health fees and so on. And sometimes it's very difficult because a sickle cell patient can be admitted in a hospital twice a month. Sometimes they can live 1 month in the hospital because of complications. So that's the first challenge they are facing. But they have also psychological challenges because sickle cell disease is still like a stigma for some families. There are families where they are hiding the sickle cell children, and then because they are afraid of what people would think around and so on. I think there's still a lot of stigma and a psychological influence or impact on patients themselves and even on parents. And then the other challenge is when they are admitted is blood availability. Sickle cell is related to anemia, and then if you have to be transfused, and sometimes you will need people who can come and give blood for you, and most of the time is familial donors. We don't have a politics of voluntary donation of blood in Cameroon. In fact, we have a politic, but it's not yet in the mind of Cameroonians to come and donate voluntary. So it's another aspect of their challenges. And then I will also talk about for young adults with sickle cell disease. The hardly have like job, even if they are qualified. They have difficulties to be employed somewhere, because when a boss notice that the person is sickler, is a bit afraid. So I have so many testimonies that young adults with sickle cell disease have so many difficulties to be employed. I think there's something to be done in that way. Anyway, the other problem is accessibility to simple drugs. There's a drug that really helps sickle cell patients that is not yet in the essential drug list in Cameroon. I think we should also think about it, because sometimes the drug is out of stock and the patient are experiencing so many difficulties to get those drugs. So they have many challenges. I cannot list all of them, but sickle cell disease, in my own way, is still an orphan disease in our context. And I think the plaidoyer, and we hope that things may change in the few next years.
Dr. Charlotte, you earlier said about 6,000 children are born yearly with a sickle cell disease in Cameroon. So what accounts for the rise in cases in Cameroon? Do you think it's due to lack of awareness or negligence on the part of parents?
I think there are many factors. The first factor is ignorance. There are still many people that are ignorant about hemoglobin electrophoresis and why they should do it before getting married. Most of the time when you ask to people on the road if they know about hemoglobin electrophoresis, if they know about sickle cell disease, they always like they don't know what is sickle cell disease, and they always think about blood group instead of hemoglobin electrophoresis. I think we have more work to do on sensitization, and I think we health personnel should put our effort together with medias instead of like putting music all along the day. Maybe try and work on how to sensitize people on those health problems that are really public health problem in our context. So that's one part. But I also think that there are also people who have heard about sickle cell disease, but they think it doesn't concern them, and it's for other people. Up to the day they discover that there's something happening in their own family. Sickle cell disease have always been, in fact, formerly, some years ago, we thought that, and I think some people are still thinking that it's witchcraft because the child is taking blood every month, so sometimes they think it's not a normal child, and so on. So they are taboo. I don't know if they say it in English, in fact, they are taboo about it, and people don't want to understand. But if every parent try to, or every Cameroonian try to know his own hemoglobin electrophoresis, I think we'll have one step forward on the fight against sickle cell disease. People always say, no, it's too expensive, but doing a hemoglobin electrophoresis is not more expensive than one box of beer, for example. Let me take that example because Cameroonians like to drink beer. So it's just an effort that everybody or every parent to do. to find out, to know the hemoglobin electrophoresis of their children, and then start talking to them, because today they are sexually active very, very, very early compared to some years ago. So if every parent engage himself to test the children and to find out what is their hemoglobin electrophoresis, and we start to talk to them very early in their life, I think when they will become adults, they will be ambassadors to the fight against sickle cell disease, and then we'll start having the number of sickle cell babies going down. So that's my own point of view. We have many things to do, but the population has also an effort to do, to like being informed and then have an action behind the information.
As a pediatrician and equally a sickle cell expert, you must have had time to work with a lot of children suffering the disease. Explain to us, how does the disease manifest in children?
The disease has, let's say globally, the disease has three main manifestations. The first manifestation is pain crisis. You have a child or a patient who's get up in the morning and then start to have pain crisis all over the body. All the parts of the body can be concerned. If you make a round in our hospitalization room, you will discover people crying. They really cry. If you've never experienced it, you cannot understand. And I think people who have sicklers around them can more understand what I'm talking about. Sometimes when they describe the pain, it's just like, wow. Because the other day, another patient told us it's more than pain for labor pain. So if you have already experienced labor pain, if somebody tells you that it's more than that, you can imagine what they are living every day. So after pain crisis, they have chronic anemia. And when you have a normal hemoglobin at 12, in the sicklers you can have hemoglobin at 6, 7, and the chronic anemia can be also the cause of many other complications like growth retardation, pubertal retardation, and puberty retardation, and you have you can have like a complication of chronic anemia, cardiac failure, and so on. And the third main symptom is infection, and they have many explanations to have severe infections. So those are the three main manifestations. So if you have a child who is sick every day, who has fever every day, who's complaining of pains from time to time, who's always anemic and yellow eyes, think about sickle cell disease and take him to the hospital to be tested on sickle cell.
There are so many myths that revolve around the sickle cell disease, and one of those myths is about the lifespan of people suffering with the disease. According to the myth, individuals with sickle cell don't live past the age of 21. Can you clarify us on that?
There is a cure for the disease. The technique for cure is what we call bone marrow transplant. It's not been done here in Cameroon, but it's possible to cure from sickle cell disease, and it's just a matter of being followed up and maybe being transferred to a place where you can benefit from that technique.
What do you have for patients suffering with the disease at the moment?
The only advice I can tell them is that test yourself. Know your hemoglobin electrophoresis before getting married. Sometimes we have young people who come, they know they are hemoglobin electrophoresis, but they say, we love each other too much. Yes, love is a good thing, but being realistic is also it's like a wisdom, if I can say it like that. So if you have a plan to get married, and I personally think the thing should start early in our life. That's why we are trying to test people from 15 years, because it's at that time that you should start talking to them for you to really understand the importance of knowing is hemoglobin electrophoresis. So if you are AS, don't go with somebody who is AS also. If you are AS, you should find somebody who is AA for you to reduce to reduce the risk to have a sickle cell baby. If all of us, if each person in Cameroon does it, then we will reduce the incidence of the disease, and then maybe in some years, finish about sickle cell disease.
Dr. Charlotte Epose-Ella, pediatrician and sickle cell expert at the Douala Lakentini Hospital. Thank you so much for your keen attention, ladies and gentlemen. That will put a cap to today's edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast. Have a lovely evening in a company of more interesting programs on Equinoxe Television. So long and have a lovely new week.